Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to install the open source version of Ceph 5 storage solution. Now, this is purely a lab environment. Typically, you would not want to install Ceph on VMware. You would want it on bare metal. That way, it has direct access to the disks for your OSDs or your object devices. However, your administration console, you see here, I've got the cephadm. This is where I'm going to be running all the Ceph commands, the cephadm commands, the Rados gateway commands. All those will be run from this box. And then I have two already created that'll contain the OSDs. And we're going to go together and create the third OSD box. That way I have 3 nodes. I'm going to put 6 disks on them, so 2 disks per. Again, this is not a solution if you're going to put this in to any means of production. This is just if you've got a lab system that you want to mess around with Ceph. I do have some testing that I want to do and I need object-based storage, so I'm going to go ahead and configure this for object-based storage. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll create that third node. And just to show you how that works, Ceph2 in that directory, put it on my third node here. The idea is I didn't want to, so my OS drive I'll put on NVMe, and then my OSDs I'll put on the vSAN. I didn't want you guys to have to hang out and watch me install all these nodes, so we're just going to be quick. I've decided on 6 CPUs. I've run this before and I really don't exceed that. My boot disk will be 36 gig. We're going to put that on, should be default, and then I want to make sure that it's on NVMe just to double check and switch that to thin provision. And okay, so now we would need to create our disks for the OSD, so we'll create 2 hard disks here. And these, again, I'm going to put on vSAN. We'll make them each 100 gig. And then I'll select my vSAN policy and make sure it's selecting vSAN. All right, so that's done. Go grab this other disk here. vSAN storage policy. Make sure it's on vSAN. That's done, and then I'll select my network. And then my boot disk, so we're going to run Fedora 3.5. And make sure that's connected. Yep, so that should be it. All right, so we'll get that built. Okay, now we'll just go ahead and boot that up. I've got my Ceph 1 box here. I'm just still finishing up the patches there. All right. All right, let's go ahead and put our root account in. I want to make sure I enable this for Ceph, again, lab environment, but I need to be able to access all the nodes via SSH and root. So I will exchange a key so I can log in. Go ahead and create my account here. And add our network, and this is Ceph2. And we'll configure its static IP address. right, save that, done. And then the disk provisioning. So you can see I've got the two 100 gig drives there. We're not going to create any partitions here. We're going to select this one as the boot disk, customize our partitions, and switch this to standard partitioning. And then I just need to add a few partitions here. One thing to keep in mind is that the root partition, or sorry, not the root partition, but the var partition needs to be at least 10 gig. So we're going to make sure of that by giving it 15 gig. And then for performance, we want to disable disk logging. So we're going to switch to extended 2 file system. Okay, and then we'll do the root partition, 15 gig as well. Disable all the logging / journaling. And then we'll add 4 gig for swap. There we go. Accept those changes. And we're ready to install. All right, so we'll give this a few minutes. We'll come back, we'll patch it, and then we should be able to start installing Ceph. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so now we have all of our nodes provisioned. We went ahead and finished this Ceph 2, and I ran the patches for it already. I've accessed my cephadm box right here. Go ahead and close this out. And the cephadm box, again, I'm doing everything from. So I created a root key for SSH and went ahead and replicated that to all the nodes, so I can just SSH as root, like into Ceph 2, without a password. All right, so that's what I needed. So let me add the etc host file, and we're going to put all of our nodes in here. So 172.168.1.39 is our cephadmin. Oops, 39 is our cephadmin node. And got the other one. And then we'll put 41, 1, 1. Okay. And I want to copy that to all of the hosts as well. One second. Yeah, okay. Okay, so as far as our cephadmin node now, we can install the packages to get started. So we'll just do DNF install Ceph and podman. And this will get our packages installed here. Ceph will also include a cephadm command. Now, if you can just run that. So if you just wanted cephadm, you can do that instead, and then it won't download all those extra packages. But then you have to jump into the Ceph shell using cephadm. So to me, it just makes sense just to run Ceph on this node in particular. That way it installs the cephadm package as well as all the Ceph tools, so that I can do everything just from the regular Ceph command and not have to jump into a container shell to run everything. So we'll just install it this way. I'll get that started, and then we'll jump into the worker nodes and get podman installed on those. And then we'll do a quick tune to all the boxes, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, so now we've got our Ceph tools installed. The only thing on the other nodes we have to do is make sure we get podman installed there. So let's SSH to all those nodes. So Ceph 0, and we'll do DNF install podman. It needs, Ceph is running off a container, so it needs something to run those containers off of. All right, so I'll go ahead and run podman on all the nodes, and then I will come back. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up a tune. I have it off screen here, and we're going to disable the timestamps for TCP/IP. So we'll do vi, let's see, sys control dot d. Yeah, all right, 99, and let's say ceph.conf. That's fine. Put that in there. Again, we're just disabling the TCP timestamps to help improve a little bit of performance. There are a lot of performance tips. A lot of it won't work for me because I'm virtualizing, but if you're on bare metal, there's a lot of other things that you can do. So definitely check that out in the Ceph documentation for tuning. But this will be able to go ahead and push that to all the nodes, and then we'll just reboot everything, and then we're ready to bootstrap. Okay, so we'll go ahead and reboot this one. Actually, let me go to Ceph2 reboot. Oops. Okay, we'll wait for all the boxes to come back up, and we'll go ahead and bootstrap this Ceph install. Okay, so all of our nodes should be back up. See ping ceph 0, ceph 1, 2. Okay, good. One thing I forgot to mention, I should do that now, is I already have a haproxy set up. Let's see if I can get to it. So ssh ceph proxy. All right, and here, if we look at the config, I've got 443 enabled, and I also have 8443 for the web UI. Now 443, this one here, is actually going to be for my object storage when I get that set up, and this is for the web UI. So we needed to go ahead and get that in place, and I went ahead and just mapped it to all the nodes. And it'll check it and make sure that it'll load balance appropriately over it. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out, that there is a load balancer that's already provisioned in the background. Okay, so now we can go ahead and bootstrap our node and our cluster rather, and we'll run that with this command, cephadm bootstrap monitor IP. This is the IP address of my cephadmin node, and this will work if I'm actually on the cephadmin node. So let's get off of this box and run it again. All right, so now it'll bootstrap and put the monitor IP address right here, and this will be for our UI as well. All right, so go ahead and run that. And this will take a few moments. It's got to pull down the containers and get those installed. Now I'm only using a single network here, as you see. If you wanted to separate this, which is a best practice, where you have your external connections into Ceph running on one network, and then the backend network that's just for the OSD boxes, that's the preferred way to do it. Again, my lab environment, it's just super easy. I'm not setting up that way, but you can definitely define that just by giving it a cluster network statement. So it would be like cephadmin bootstrap monitor IP blah blah blah, and then you would do -- cluster - network, and then whatever the network segment is, CIDR that you want to provision dynamic IP addresses to for the backend network. And they don't even have to be, they just have to be routable on the network, and that's out of scope for this demo, but you can definitely define a separate network that the OSD boxes would communicate all their internal traffic on. Definitely make sure that internal cluster network is on 10 gig. This network here is on 10 gig, but you definitely want as much performance as possible between the OSD boxes if you're putting like 1 gig on the outside, which I also don't recommend. So it should be 10 gig minimum everything. If you can do 40 gig across everything on Ceph, it's just going to be a lot more performance from a network perspective for you. So definitely recommended. All right, looks like we're about ready to finish up here. It's went ahead and should have added the firewall rules. If not, we'll go ahead and run those just to make sure that the appropriate firewall rules have been installed. We can see the containers here being deployed. Okay, so now we've got our Ceph dashboard login. Definitely make sure you, and it says bootstrap complete, definitely make sure you copy this. Let me put that off screen. This will set our temporary password for our gateway, our UI for Ceph. All right, got that copied. Okay. And if we can look at our status by doing Ceph health, it's still setting up, so I don't expect it to actually return anything. Yeah, so it's going to be warning. There's no OSDs yet, but that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and label this one our admin box. So it should be, I thought I had the command copied down to do. All right, there we go. So our cephadm is now tagged as admin. And now we can go ahead and start adding our other nodes, our Ceph nodes. Let's clear this. And then we'll add node 0. Oh, not able to get to it. Yes, okay, so forget about that. It runs the cephadm command, so we need to pull out the Ceph key here, and then we'll just copy it over to that box. And we'll do the same thing to all of them. 41, 42, and 139, just in case. All right, now we should be able to add our node. Let me clear the screen, sorry. There, so Ceph 0 added, and then we'll add Ceph node 1. Ceph node 2. Hostname Ceph 2 does not match. Oh. That's what I get for copy paste. Okay. So we could do Ceph ORCH ORCH host list. That should see all of our boxes, and we can see that we've got this one here labeled as admin. I'm going to label these other nodes here for other services that are going to be required for our build. One thing is we want to make sure that we have, so on this, we have a manager, we have a monitor running here, and we want to go ahead and make sure that that's redundant. So I'm going to want to put some of these across the other nodes here. So we'll just do Ceph ORCH, host label add, and then I pick a node that I want to join. So let's say Ceph 0, and then Ceph 0 will assign it, let's say manager. So that'll give us 2 managers, and we're going to get this 3. So we'll do 0 and 2. Ceph ORCH host label. Oh, EL. There we go. And then we'll do 2. Okay, so Ceph ORCH host list. And now we can see our manager. And again, remember admin is a manager and it's a monitor. So now we can do, let's say Ceph 1, and we'll give that a monitor role. And we haven't deployed it, we're just labeling it. And then we'll say Ceph let's see, I'm going to put RGWs on 2 of these. So let's do monitor and monitor on 2 as well. Okay, and just so I know that everything is right, I'm going to go ahead and add labels to cephadm for both manager and monitor, even though you don't have to, because it's going to have that anyway as part of the admin process. But we'll do cephadm just so we have a label, monitor and manager. Okay, clear ceph orch host list. Okay, so now we got manager, 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 monitor, monitor, monitor. All right, so we've got good distribution. We got some HA across these various services. And now we can deploy those services but just by applying the role to the label. So we'll do ceph orch apply cmanager to label. Is it label colon, I think it's label colon manager. Yeah, there we go. And then we'll apply monitor, the monitor service to the labels of monitor. Good. Okay, and we can look at the status of this by ceph orch ps. You can see that services are being distributed across the nodes. And we can also do just orch list, and this will give us a good idea of the services, but doesn't actually tell you where they're at. So if you do ps, it'll tell you, the host name. So monitors on ceph 0, ceph 1, ceph 2, cephadm, and one of these should terminate because it just needs 3. And then we've got our manager service, and then like alert manager, crash, grafana, Prometheus. These are all on the _admin node. Okay, so let's just keep an eye on that. Ceph orch list. I think we got, yeah, everything looks like it's built, right? We got 3 of these, 3 of these. Node Explorers, all 4 nodes have an instance of that. All 4 nodes have crash. Again, alert manager, Prometheus, and Grafana are probably pinned to our manager node. No problem there. Okay. So now we actually have a cluster of services, but we still don't have those OSDs. And now we need to provision our disks. And if you recall, our install had 2 100 gig disks per. And it's going to be under dev. SDA is the primary. So we got SDB and dev SDC. So these are the devices we're going to use. And we're going to just apply it directly to the path. You don't have to. You can just run something like this. This says apply OSD to all available devices. Now, that's could be a good idea if you're doing a quick lab, but because we've got, I've got some NVMe disks provisioned, and I just feel better targeting my actual devices that I want to use. But if you have a larger lab, it's actually a pretty good idea, especially on bare metal, right? It's a really good idea to use all available devices, because then as you add disks, physical disks into the machine, it'll keep looking for those, and then once it finds new disk, it'll go ahead and add those OSDs to your pools. So it's a good idea to do that. For my use, I'm just going to select the paths to ensure that I'm applying my OSDs to the actual disks that I want to have allocated for that service. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just do ceph orch, and then we're going to apply a daemon, add OSD and ceph 0, and if you remember that path, right, dev SDB. Let's see, ceph orch daemon add OSD ceph 0. Yep. So that should add that as an OSD. All right, and we'll go ahead and add C. All right, and we'll go ahead and add this to the next boxes. So 1, B, C, to B and C. Okay, so it's got all of our disks, and we could take a look at that with, let's see, we'll do clear, oops, sorry, off screen again. All right, clear, and we'll see Ceph ORCH device list, I think. Yeah. All right, so here's our, well, let's see these SSDs. I don't know why it picked those up. Maybe it just sees them, but I'm going to ignore this insufficient space. Nothing's been provisioned on them yet, so it's fine. And locked, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we got our devices that should be added. And we can look at Ceph OSD tree. And we've got these hard drives. And you can see that they are currently in a up state. So that's good. Let's access those. Okay, so let's take a look at our UI. If you remember, we copied that sourced URL and our profile. Now, I do have some issues sometimes when I'm creating my Ceph UI because of the private cert. For some reason, it absolutely hates me. So let's see if I can get a UI up here. I have found that it's better to work in like a Chromium browser. So we'll use Brave, see if we can get that to work. There we go. I see that once we get this invalid cert, then it gives me a little bit of a heartburn here. But there is a little workaround. You just do, and what the workaround is you can just click anywhere on the screen and then just type "this is unsafe" and hit enter, and there you go. Now we can type in our admin, and what was my password? There we go. And log in, and we'll go ahead and update our password here. Change password, and that should log us into our UI. There we go. And if you're just going to do this without doing all these command lines, once you get that Ceph admin logged in, you can go to expand cluster right here, and then you'll do the same thing, right? So you're adding the hosts, adding the services, adding OSDs, next for me, because I've already added all that, and then expand cluster, so that should be done, and good. All right, so we got a healthy cluster. There's 4 hosts in here, and we've got our 3 monitors, so we have quorum there. Our OSDs, we have 6 OSDs provisioned. They're all up and in a healthy state. That's good to go. And we've got managers, 1 active, 2 in standby. And now we really just have to worry about creating pools and provisioning space for access. So one thing that I'm going to leverage is I'm going to create 2 things. I'm going to work on NFS and file systems, kind of the same thing, and then I'm going to work on object gateways. I first have to turn this on. I'll go through that in a next demo, but this is it. So you've got a nice, clean, healthy Ceph cluster, and you could pull up the documentation if you want to do block storage. I'm not interested in block, but iSCSI is pretty interesting if you want to create those targets and gateways and access block-based storage from iSCSI. And yeah, so we're going to work on object gateway and NFS in our next demos. So look forward to that. All right, thanks so much. See you in the next demo when we set up the object gateway.